Welcome to Beyond Words Library. There's a truth older than time, spoken in silence before the world began. You are not merely a name, a role, or a story. You are awareness itself. And now, as these words reach you, something ancient awakens within. A knowing, a remembering, a call back to who you truly are. I am that I am. Opening. Have you ever wondered if there's more to life than what you see? Have you felt a stirring deep within, a knowing that you're meant for something greater than the ordinary routines of daily existence? If you have, you're not alone. Throughout history, seekers, mystics, and ordinary people like you have felt this same magnetic pull toward truth. And all of them, across every culture and every time period, have discovered the same eternal secret. You are not who you think you are. You are not merely a collection of thoughts, emotions, and experiences drifting through time. You are something far more magnificent, far more powerful, far more eternal than the small self you've been taught to identify with. 3,000 years ago, when Moses stood before the burning bush and asked the name of the divine, the answer came not as a name, but as a revelation. I am that I am. This wasn't evasion. It was the ultimate truth about existence itself, condensed into 3 simple words. These words hold the key to unlocking your infinite potential. They point directly to the unchanging awareness that you are, the consciousness that witnesses your thoughts but is not your thoughts, the presence that experiences life but is not limited by any single experience. Right now, as you listen to these words, something is hearing them. That something is not your mind. Your mind is what you're aware of. It's not your emotions. You can observe your emotions. It's not even your body. You can feel your body. There's something prior to all of these, something that makes all experience possible. That something is who you truly are. It's what the ancient wisdom traditions have called by many names. Buddha nature, Atman, the Christ consciousness, the Tao. But it's simpler than all of these. It's just presence, awareness, being itself. Science is now validating what mystics have always known. Quantum physics reveals that consciousness might be fundamental to reality itself. Neuroscience shows that the sense of a separate self is constructed by the brain, not an actual entity. Psychology demonstrates that well-being increases dramatically when we stop identifying completely with our thoughts and emotions. You're living in the most extraordinary time in human history. Ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science are pointing to the same revolutionary truth. You are not a separate being struggling through an indifferent universe. You are the universe itself, temporarily expressing as this unique focal point of awareness. What does this mean for your daily life? Everything. When you begin to live from this understanding, problems don't disappear, but your relationship to them transforms completely. Challenges become opportunities, relationships deepen, creativity flows, purpose becomes clear. In the coming chapters, we'll explore how modern science validates ancient spiritual wisdom. Practical ways to recognize the aware presence that you are. How to navigate daily life from this deeper understanding. The profound implications of realizing your essential nature. But first, let's start with a simple experiment. Right now, take a moment to notice what's happening. Feel your breath, sense your body, hear the sounds around you. Now notice something extraordinary. You're aware of all of these experiences. This awareness doesn't come and go with the experiences. It's constantly present. Welcome home. Let the journey begin. Chapter 1. The first recognition. In the beginning was awareness, and awareness recognized itself as I am. This recognition wasn't thought or spoken. It was existence itself becoming conscious of its own nature. This same recognition is happening right now, in this very moment, as these words dance across the field of your awareness. Consider this simple fact. Before you can be aware of anything, your thoughts, your surroundings, your breath, you must first be. You must exist. This existence isn't something you do. It's what you are. It's the foundation upon which everything else appears. Close your eyes for a moment. In the darkness, notice that awareness is still present. You're aware of sounds, sensations, perhaps the remnants of visual memory. But more fundamentally, you're aware of being aware. This awareness doesn't belong to you. You belong to it. You are it. The ancient yogas had a practice called neti neti. Not this, not that. Through systematic self-inquiry, they would eliminate everything they were not, until only the irreducible core remained. I am not my body. The body changes, ages, eventually dissolves, but I remain aware throughout. I am not my thoughts. Thoughts come and go, but the awareness witnessing them is constant. I am not my emotions. Emotions arise and pass, but the space in which they appear is unchanging. What remains when everything else is stripped away? The pure I am. This isn't another object in awareness. It's awareness itself recognizing its own nature. Modern psychology stumbled onto this truth through a different route. When researchers used advanced brain scanning technology to locate the self in the brain, they found nothing. The sense of being a separate self is constructed moment by moment through mental activity. There's no little person inside your head controlling the show. There's just the show itself, happening spontaneously in the space of awareness. This recognition has profound implications. If the separate self is an illusion, then who is the one suffering? Who is the one seeking? Who is the one trying to become enlightened? The answer is paradoxical. It's the illusion seeking its own dissolution. It's like a wave trying to find the ocean while being the ocean all along. Think about your deepest experiences of peace, love, or creative flow. In those moments, where was the separate self? When you're truly absorbed in something meaningful, when time dissolves and there's just pure engagement with life, the sense of I, as separate observer, vanishes. What remains is life living itself, awareness being aware, the universe experiencing itself through this particular perspective. But here's the beautiful paradox. Recognizing your essential nature doesn't erase your personality or your life story. The character you've been playing continues, but now you know it's a character. The drama continues, but now you know it's a drama. You can fully engage with life while knowing that life is engaging with itself. This shift in perspective changes everything. Problems become interesting challenges rather than threats to your survival. Relationships become opportunities for consciousness to know itself in different forms. Even death loses its terror when you realize that what you truly are cannot die. Some might say, this sounds too abstract, too philosophical. What about my real problems? The truth is, most of our problems stem from the fundamental misidentification with the separate self. We suffer not because of what happens, but because of our resistance to what happens. This resistance arises from the illusion that we are limited, vulnerable entities that need to control life to be happy. Consider the difference between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. It's part of the human experience. But suffering is optional. Suffering arises when we identify completely with the pain, when we resist it, when we create stories about why we shouldn't have to experience it. The I am includes all experiences, but remains untouched by them. Throughout history, individuals have stumbled upon this recognition and been transformed by it. Buddha called it awakening. Jesus spoke of the kingdom of heaven within. Rumi wrote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." These weren't merely poetic expressions, but actual realizations of their true nature. The invitation of this moment is simple. Notice what's already here. Before you think about it, before you analyze it, before you judge it, just notice. Who is aware of these words? Who is aware of your breathing? Who is aware of the awareness itself? Don't try to find this awareness. You can't find it because you are it. Instead, rest as awareness. Let the mind relax its search. Let the heart open to the vastness of what you are. This is the first recognition, the undeniable fact of your own existence. Not as a separate someone, but as the field of awareness itself. From this recognition, everything else emerges, and to this recognition, everything returns. Moment of practice. Take a pause here. This is your invitation to not just understand, but to experience. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Now ask yourself, who is aware of this heartbeat? Don't think about it, just rest in the question. Notice that the one who asks and the awareness being sought are the same. Rest here for 30 seconds, breathing naturally, allowing yourself to be without needing to become anything. Welcome back. Let this recognition inform the rest of your listening. Chapter 2. Quantum Consciousness and Ancient Wisdom. The most cutting-edge discoveries in quantum physics are revealing what mystics have always known. Consciousness is not a byproduct of matter, but rather, matter is a byproduct of consciousness. This convergence of ancient wisdom and modern science is not merely coincidental. It's a natural consequence of investigating reality deeply enough. In the early 20th century, quantum physicists made a startling discovery. When observing subatomic particles, the very act of observation appeared to influence the outcome of experiments. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrated that light behaves as either a wave or a particle depending on whether it's being observed. This led to the inescapable conclusion that consciousness plays a fundamental role in the fabric of reality. Werner Heisenberg, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, stated, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning." This echoes the ancient Sanskrit teaching, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, suggesting that the observer and the observed are ultimately one. The implications are staggering. If consciousness affects physical reality at the quantum level, then your thoughts, beliefs, and state of awareness are literally shaping your experience of the world. This isn't mystical thinking. It's quantum physics. The boundary between mind and matter, between self and universe, begins to dissolve. Consider the principle of quantum entanglement, where particles separated by vast distances remain instantaneously connected. When one particle is measured, its entangled partner immediately responds, regardless of the distance between them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, but perhaps it's not so spooky when we recognize that space and time are constructs within consciousness rather than containers for it. This mirrors the ancient Vedantic understanding of Indra's net, where each jewel reflects all others, symbolizing the interconnectedness of all existence. The Sufis speak of Wahdat al-Wujud, the unity of being, where apparent multiplicity is an illusion overlaying fundamental oneness. Neuroscientist David Chalmers identified what he calls the hard problem of consciousness. How does subjective experience arise from objective matter? The materialist paradigm struggles to explain how billions of neurons firing can create the rich, qualitative experience of being conscious. But what if we've been asking the wrong question? What if consciousness is primary, and matter is what consciousness looks like when observed from a particular perspective? This perspective transforms our understanding of healing, manifestation, and personal transformation. If your consciousness is entangled with the fabric of reality, then shifting your inner state can literally shift your outer experience. This isn't about magical thinking or denying the challenges of physical existence. It's about recognizing the power of awareness to influence the field of experience. Consider how your state of mind affects your perception. When you're anxious, you notice threats everywhere. When you're at peace, the same environment feels benign. This isn't just psychological. It's the fundamental nature of consciousness creating reality through its focus and interpretation. The ancient Indian sage Nisargadatta Maharaj said, "When I look within and see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I look without and see that I am everything, that is love. Between these two, my life flows." This perfectly encapsulates the quantum insight. At the deepest level, you are the field of awareness in which all phenomena arise, and simultaneously, you are inseparably linked to everything that appears within that field. Recent studies in epigenetics show that gene expression can be influenced by consciousness, emotion, and even meditation. The genes you inherited are not your destiny. They're more like a piano that can play infinite songs depending on who's playing. Your consciousness is the pianist. This understanding revolutionizes our approach to health, relationships, and creativity. When you recognize that you are the space in which thoughts, emotions, and sensations arise, you're no longer at their mercy. You can observe them, learn from them, and even direct them without being controlled by them. The Tibetan Buddhist concept of rigpa, clear seeing or pure awareness, aligns perfectly with quantum mechanics' observer effect. The quality of our observation determines what we observe. When we observe with mindful presence rather than habitual reactivity, reality itself shifts to match this clearer seeing. But here's the crucial point. This isn't about controlling reality or manifesting desires. It's about aligning with the creative intelligence that's already flowing through existence. When you recognize yourself as consciousness itself, you naturally flow in harmony with the universal creative process. The physicist Max Planck, father of quantum theory, declared, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derived from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness." This brings us full circle to the ancient teaching of I am that I am. You are the consciousness that quantum physics describes as fundamental to reality. You are the awareness in which all scientific observations arise. You are the field in which the dance of particles and waves unfolds. Understanding this at an intellectual level is just the beginning. The true power comes in embodying this realization, living from this recognition, allowing it to transform how you show up in the world. When you align with your fundamental nature as consciousness itself, the artificial boundaries between inner and outer, self and cosmos, begin to dissolve. The ancient wisdom and modern science are singing the same song. Are you ready to dance? Moment of practice. Let's explore this quantum perspective experientially. Right now, become aware of your breath. Notice how the breath breathes you. You don't control it, it happens naturally. Now expand your awareness to include the space around you. Imagine that you are not separate from this space, but are the space itself, temporarily localized as a human form. Rest in this spacious awareness for 1 minute. Don't try to maintain it. Just let yourself relax into being the space in which everything appears. Notice. Were you controlling this awareness, or was awareness simply present when you stopped interfering? Chapter 3. Beyond Separation. Take a moment to feel the space around you. Notice how your skin seems to mark the boundary where you end and the world begins. Now, pay attention to your breathing. As you inhale, air from outside enters your lungs. As you exhale, air from inside becomes part of the outside. Where exactly is the boundary? The truth is, this boundary is arbitrary, a conceptual division imposed by thought onto the seamless flow of existence. The illusion of separation is perhaps the most pervasive and consequential illusion we live under, the source of almost all suffering, conflict, and misunderstanding about the nature of reality. Every spiritual tradition has recognized this fundamental error. The Hindus call it Maya, the veil of illusion that makes us forget our essential unity. Buddhists speak of the two truths, the conventional reality where separation appears real, and the ultimate reality where everything is interdependent and empty of separate existence. Modern ecology provides scientific validation for this ancient insight. We now know that no organism can survive in isolation. Every living being exists within complex webs of relationship. The oxygen you breathe is produced by plants and phytoplankton. The food you eat connects you to vast networks of soil, water, sun, and countless other organisms. Even your thoughts are shaped by language, culture, and the accumulated knowledge of thousands of generations. Systems theory reveals that what we call individuals are actually patterns of relationship within larger wholes. Your body is an ecosystem hosting trillions of microorganisms essential for your survival. Your mind is a process of information exchange with your environment. Where exactly do you end and the rest of the universe begin? The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio writes about the extended mind, how our consciousness extends beyond our skull to include our tools, environment, and social relationships. When you drive a car, is the car part of you? When you use a smartphone, does your mind extend into the device? These questions challenge our conventional notions of where the self ends. But the illusion runs deeper than physical boundaries. We also create separation at the level of identity. I am this nationality, this profession, this age, this gender. These identifications become prisons when we forget they are temporary roles played by the eternal I am. Like actors who become so lost in their characters, they forget they're performing in a play. Consider how conflict arises from this sense of separation. Wars are fought because we are different from they. Environmental destruction occurs because we see nature as something apart from ourselves to be exploited. Personal suffering intensifies when we feel isolated, misunderstood, alone against the world. Yet moments of connection shatter this illusion. In acts of genuine love, the boundaries dissolve. When helping another, you often feel more yourself. In creative flow, the artist and the art become one. During meditation, the meditator and meditation merge into pure awareness. These experiences remind us of our true nature, unity disguised as multiplicity. The physicist Erwin Schrödinger, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, wrote, "The total number of minds in the universe is one." He wasn't speaking metaphorically. Quantum entanglement demonstrates that particles separated by vast distances remain intimately connected. Some physicists propose that consciousness itself might be entangled throughout the universe. Indigenous wisdom keepers have always understood this. The Lakota greeting, Midiki Oyasin, means all my relations, acknowledging kinship not just with humans, but with all beings, all elements, the entire cosmos. When the Aboriginal elder speaks of country, they don't mean property owned, but a living web of relationships to which they belong. This understanding transforms our response to global challenges: climate change, species extinction, social inequality. These are symptoms of the illusion of separation. Solutions arise not from more division and control, but from recognizing our fundamental interconnectedness. At the personal level, healing often comes through addressing this illusion. Loneliness dissolves when we remember we are expressions of life itself. Anxiety lessens when we stop trying to protect a separate self and instead flow with the creative intelligence of existence. Depression lifts when we reconnect with the web of relationships that sustain us. The practice is simple, but profound. Whenever you notice yourself feeling separate, isolated, or opposed, pause. Take a breath. Feel the air connecting you to all breathing beings. Notice the ground supporting you. Remember that every molecule in your body was forged in stars billions of years ago. You are the universe looking at itself through these particular eyes. But don't try to eliminate the sense of separation. It serves important functions for navigation in the world. The invitation is to hold both truths simultaneously: the practical reality of apparent separation and the ultimate truth of essential unity. This is what Zen calls form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Living from this recognition doesn't mean we ignore differences or boundaries. Rather, we see them as variations within unity, like different waves in the same ocean. Diversity becomes an expression of creative intelligence rather than a source of conflict. The mystic Ibn Arabi wrote, "Wheresoever you turn, there is the face of God." Modern science echoes this. Every atom in your body was created in exploding stars. You are literally made of stardust, sharing fundamental particles with everything else in the universe. The illusion of separation is maintained by attention focused solely on differences while ignoring the underlying sameness. The remedy is expanding awareness to include both levels simultaneously. This is not a mental exercise, but a shift in the quality of attention itself. As you rest in awareness itself, Separation becomes a transparency through which the unity shines. Individual expressions of consciousness, like waves that never separate from the ocean, arise and subside within the infinite ocean of being. The illusion of separation dissolves in the light of awareness. What remains is the brilliant tapestry of existence, every thread unique, every thread essential, every thread woven into the whole. Moment of practice. Let's explore the dissolving of boundaries. Place one hand on your heart, one on your belly. Feel the warmth, the aliveness. Now imagine this same aliveness exists in the person nearest to you right now. Extend this awareness to include all living beings in your vicinity. Continue expanding your neighborhood, your city, all life on Earth. Notice that the aliveness you feel is the same aliveness everywhere. Rest in this recognition of shared being for 60 seconds. When boundaries dissolve, what remains? Simply notice without trying to hold onto any particular experience. Chapter 4. The Mind's True Nature. What is the mind? Ask this question, and most people will point to their head, as if the mind could be located in space like a physical object. But can you actually find the mind? Look for it right now. Where is the boundary between your thoughts and the space in which they arise? Where does one thought end and the next begin? The mind, it turns out, is not a thing but a process, a dynamic flow of mental activity arising within awareness. Like waves on the ocean, thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are temporary modifications of consciousness itself. The ocean remains unchanged whether the waves are large or small, turbulent or calm. Eastern wisdom traditions have long understood this distinction. In Sanskrit, they differentiate between chitta, the field of consciousness, and vritti, the fluctuations or modifications of the mind. Yoga, in its classical definition, is chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of mental fluctuations. Not the elimination of the mind, but recognition of its essential nature. Modern neuroscience reveals that there's no central processor, no self-managing thoughts like a CEO in a corporate headquarters. Instead, the brain functions as a massively parallel, self-organizing system. Thoughts emerge from the interaction of billions of neurons, but no neuron contains a thought. Like a flock of birds where beautiful patterns emerge without central control, the mind is an emergent property of complex interactions. Think about your thoughts. They appear spontaneously, don't they? You don't produce thoughts the way a factory produces widgets. They simply arise in awareness. If you're thinking about lunch, where did that thought come from? You didn't go into some mental warehouse and select lunch thoughts. It just appeared in the space of awareness. This spontaneous arising suggests that what we call mind is actually a creative process of the universe itself happening through us. The ancient Chinese understood this, describing thoughts as energy configurations in the void, temporary patterns in the field of consciousness. The Buddhist teacher Nagarjuna spoke of the mind's emptiness, not as a blank void, but as freedom from fixed essence. The mind is like space itself, infinitely accommodating, containing all phenomena while being none of them. It can hold thoughts of the highest beauty and deepest suffering with equal spaciousness. Consider this remarkable fact. Consciousness can be aware of mental activity, but mental activity cannot be aware of consciousness. You can observe thoughts arising and passing, but thoughts cannot observe the awareness that contains them. This suggests an asymmetrical relationship. Consciousness is primary, mental phenomena are secondary. In meditation, we often try to control or stop thoughts, creating a war with the mind. But what if the practice is simpler? Just recognizing that you are the spacious awareness in which thoughts appear. Like the sky, which remains unaffected whether clouds are present or absent, your essential nature remains pristine regardless of mental activity. The neuroscientist Anil Seth describes consciousness as a controlled hallucination, the brain's best guess about reality based on sensory input and internal models. This model-making activity is incredibly sophisticated, creating a coherent, stable experience of self and world from constantly changing sensory data. But here's the profound insight. If our experience is constructed by the nervous system, what is the awareness that recognizes this construction? What sees through the hallucination? This meta-awareness, this capacity to be conscious of consciousness itself, points to something beyond the constructed self. The mystic Huang Po taught, "The foolish reject what they see, not what they think. The wise reject what they think, not what they see." Don't reject the phenomena of mind, but see through the identification with them. You are not your thoughts, emotions, or mental states. You are the awareness in which they appear. But let's be practical. How does understanding the mind's true nature change daily life? When you recognize thoughts as temporary visitors rather than permanent residents, you naturally become less identified with them. A thought of anxiety arises, but you're not anxious. You're aware of anxiety. This creates space for wisdom to operate. The ancient Stoics understood this principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Not control over thoughts themselves, but recognition of your essential nature as the space in which thoughts appear and disappear. Mindfulness practices work with this understanding. Instead of trying to achieve a special state, you simply rest as awareness, allowing thoughts to come and go without resistance or attachment. This isn't passive watching, but a live presence, like a mother caring for children while remaining centered in herself. The mind's true nature is creative emptiness, pregnant with infinite possibility. From this spacious awareness, thoughts arise spontaneously, often with remarkable intelligence and insight. When we're truly present, the mind becomes a clear channel for wisdom rather than a generator of problems. Consider how creative breakthroughs happen. Solutions often come not through forced thinking, but when the mind relaxes, when we're in the shower or on a walk. This suggests that the deepest intelligence operates beyond personal control, arising from the vast reservoir of consciousness itself. Understanding the mind's true nature is not an abstract philosophical exercise, but a practical key to freedom. When you stop taking your thoughts so personally, when you recognize mental activity as spontaneous creativity rather than personal property, a natural spaciousness emerges. From this spaciousness comes genuine responsiveness rather than reactive patterns. The mind, in its essence, is pure potential, the capacity for any and all experiences. It's not your personal possession, but the universe's way of exploring itself through this unique perspective you call your life. When this recognition dawns, thinking becomes lighter, more playful. The mind returns to its natural state of wonder and openness. This is the ultimate liberation, not from the mind, but from the mistaken belief that you are identical to mental phenomena. The mind becomes a beautiful instrument, like a piano that's been tuned to play the music of life itself. What remains is pure awareness, dancing the eternal dance of consciousness, creating and dissolving thoughts like a cosmic poet crafting verses in the infinite space of being. Moment of practice. Experience the spacious nature of mind. For the next minute, simply watch your thoughts as if they're clouds passing through sky. Don't engage with content, just notice the coming and going. If you find yourself caught in thinking, simply return to observing. Now ask, what is aware of these thoughts? Rest in this awareness. Notice that thoughts appear within awareness, but awareness itself remains unchanging. Chapter 5. The Power of Presence. Right now, as you listen to these words, something extraordinary is happening. Beyond the content of what you're hearing, beyond your reactions and interpretations, there is a quality of aliveness, a sense of being here. This is presence. Not something you do, but something you are. Presence is the most overlooked miracle of existence. It's so close, so constant, so intimate that we usually miss it entirely. We're like someone wearing glasses while searching everywhere for them. The one thing we can never lose is the one thing we continually seek. Consider the nature of time for a moment. The past exists only in memory. The future exists only in imagination. Both memory and imagination happen now. The present is not a narrow sliver between past and future, but the eternal now in which all experience unfolds. Presence is your direct participation in this eternal now. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh says, "The present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all moments." When you're truly present, time becomes spacious. Have you noticed how time expands during moments of deep attention? How a sunset can feel eternal when you're fully absorbed. Presence is naturally occurring awareness, unclouded by mental commentary. It's what children often display before they're taught to live in their heads. Watch a child encountering something new. They're completely there, fully engaged, not thinking about what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. Modern psychology validates this wisdom through research on flow states. When people are fully engaged in challenging activities that match their skill level, self-consciousness disappears. Time seems to slow down or speed up. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists speak of the muse taking over. Scientists describe creative breakthroughs arising from periods of absorbed focus. What's happening in these moments? The usual mental construction of self temporarily dissolves, revealing the raw aliveness that's always present. You're not thinking about the activity. You are the activity. The dancer becomes the dance, the painter becomes the painting, the thinker becomes the thinking. But presence isn't limited to special peak experiences. It's available in the most ordinary moments. Washing dishes with full attention becomes a meditation. Walking with complete awareness of each step is entering the sacred. Even waiting in line can become an opportunity to return to the simplicity of pure experience. Presence is not something you create. It's what you are when you stop trying to be something else. It's the relaxation of becoming and the rest in what is. In this rest, a natural intelligence emerges, not intelligence about something, but intelligence that is this moment. Neuroscientist Richard Davidson has studied the brains of long-term meditators and found they display increased activity in areas associated with compassion and happiness. But Matthew Ricard, a monk who's been the subject of many of these studies, emphasizes that meditation is not about becoming happier. It's about suffering less. This distinction is profound. Presence doesn't add anything to experience. It removes the barriers to full experience. When the mind stops resisting what's here, when it ceases to constantly evaluate or compare, a natural spaciousness emerges. In this spaciousness, even difficult experiences can be held with a kind of tenderness. Think about the last time you were truly present, perhaps watching a fire or listening to music or in moments of intimacy with someone. In those moments, where was the you problem? There was no sense of a separate self observing the experience. Just the experience itself, vivid and alive. This is the beautiful paradox. The more you try to be present, the more you create a one who is trying, thus missing presence. True presence arises when striving quiets, when wanting relaxes, when you recognize that you're already here. Different spiritual traditions offer various paths to presence. Buddhism teaches mindfulness, non-judgmental attention to the present moment. Taoism describes Wu Wei, effortless action. Islamic mystics speak of fana, the dissolution of ego and the divine. But all point to the same recognition. When you are absent, reality is present. In modern life, we often live in the future or the past. We plan, worry, regret, or fantasize. Technology exacerbates this, constantly pulling our attention away from the present. But this very distraction makes returning to presence all the more essential. Right now, as you listen to these words, let them become a reminder to presence. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of breath, the aliveness of this moment. This isn't another task to accomplish, but the home you can return to any time. Through presence, we discover that there's no problem with the present moment. The problem is always in the mind's story about this moment. What it means, why it matters, how to control it. But the moment itself is innocent. Eckhart Tolle, teaches that presence is our natural state, obscured by the compulsive activity of the mind. When attention rests in the joy of presence, the joy of simply being, we automatically begin to spend more time there. But presence is not to be sought as a special state to attain. It's not a peak experience or a spiritual achievement. It's the ground of all experience, the earth of being. When we recognize this, being present becomes as effortless as breathing. In presence, there's no past to carry and no future to achieve. There's a natural completion, a sense that this moment, exactly as it is enough. From this enoughness, action arises naturally, not from lack or desire, but from the recognition that life itself acts through us. This is the ongoing invitation. Whenever you remember, return to presence. Not as an escape from the world, but as a deeper way of engaging with it. For only from the ground of presence can we truly respond to life rather than merely react to it. Presence is the natural way back to what we've always been. Pure awareness, knowing itself, delighting in the simple act of being itself. Moment of practice. Let's arrive right here, right now. Take a deep breath and sigh it out loudly. Ah. Now place your feet firmly on the ground. Feel the contact, the support. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise brings you fully present. Rest here for 30 seconds, allowing yourself to simply be without agenda. Chapter 6. Love, the fabric of everything. Love is not an emotion. Emotions come and go, but love, true love, is the very fabric of existence itself. It's the cohesive force that holds atoms together, guides planets in their orbits, and creates the miracle of consciousness recognizing itself through countless forms. When we say love is the answer, we're not talking about romantic love or even familial affection, beautiful as these expressions are. We're speaking of love with a capital L, the fundamental creative impulse of the universe itself, the recognition that separation is an illusion and connection is the reality. At the heart of every spiritual tradition, we find the same message: God is love. Brahman is Sat Chit Ananda, being consciousness bliss. The Buddha's heart is infinite compassion. Islamic mystics speak of Ishq, the divine ecstatic love that burns away all separation. What makes love so fundamental? Consider your direct experience. When you truly love, a child, a partner, a sunrise, a piece of music, what happens to the sense of separation? It softens, doesn't it? The boundary between you and other becomes transparent. In moments of pure love, there is no lover and beloved, just love itself. Neuroscientist Antoine Lutz studied the brains of monks practicing loving-kindness meditation. They found that activity levels in the ego network decreased significantly, while areas associated with happiness and connection were heightened. Neurologically, love is the dissolution of boundaries between self and other. But love is not just a brain state, it's the way the universe knows itself. Physicist Brian Swimme writes about allurement as the fundamental force of the universe, not just physical attraction, but the very tendency of creation to connect, combine, and complexify. Love, in this sense, is the heartbeat of evolution itself. Think about it. From the moment subatomic particles first combined to form atoms, to atoms forming molecules, to molecules forming life, to life developing consciousness, the entire cosmic story is a story of increasing intimacy. Love is not separate from the evolutionary process. It is the evolutionary process. This understanding transforms how we view our personal relationships. Every connection becomes a unique expression of the universe loving itself into greater coherence. Your partner, your child, your friend, each is consciousness playing hide and seek with itself, temporarily forgetting its unity to experience the joy of reunion. But romantic relationships, profound as they are, represent only one octave in the vast symphony of love. There's the love that moves you to tears at the sight of an ancient tree. The love that stirs when witnessing an act of kindness between strangers. The love that arises when you recognize the impossibility and miracle of existence itself. The Persian poet Hafiz wrote, "The whole world is just an amorous game that God is playing with himself, but one where you and I are partners. We are that whirling movement of the divine, delighting in its own being, dizzy with joy." This cosmic love has practical implications for how we live. When you recognize love as the ground of being rather than a special feeling, your relationships naturally become less needy and more nurturing. You're no longer trying to get love, but to give it, not because you should, but because you can't help it, like a fountain that can't stop flowing. Science validates this understanding. Studies show that people who practice loving-kindness meditation experience improved immune function, reduced inflammation, and greater telomerase activity, literally slowing the aging process at the cellular level. Love, it seems, is not just good for the soul, but for the body as well. The Indian sage Ramana Maharshi taught that the heart is not just the physical organ, but the spiritual center of our being. What he called the heart space on the right side of the chest. From this heart space, he said, love flows naturally to embrace all existence. Not sentimental love, but love as recognition, seeing the same essential being in every form. This recognition transforms our approach to global challenges. War, environmental destruction, social injustice, all arise from the illusion of separation. Solutions emerge not through better strategies, but through the recognition of our fundamental interconnection. As Einstein put it, a human being is a part of the whole called by us universe. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest. This delusion is a kind of prison for us. But how do we widen this circle? Not through effort, but through relaxation. The circle is already infinite. We simply need to stop contracting it. Every time you pause to truly see someone, really see them, the circle expands. Every moment of genuine appreciation, every act of spontaneous kindness, every recognition of shared humanity opens the heart a little more. The practice is simple. Begin with yourself. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the warmth, the rhythm, the aliveness. This simple gesture activates what researchers call the heart-brain connection, bringing the nervous system into coherence. From this grounded presence, love naturally extends to include whatever is before you. The Sufi poet Rumi instructed, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." These barriers, judgments, fears, resentments, the need to be right, dissolve in the light of awareness. What remains is the open heart, the clear channel through which love flows effortlessly. This doesn't mean we ignore differences or bypass challenges. It means we approach them from a foundation of connection rather than separation. Conflict resolution becomes possible when we remember that there's no other side, just different perspectives within one family, one ecosystem, one universe. Living from this understanding, life becomes a prayer, a celebration, a continuous offering. Each breath becomes an expression of gratitude, each action a gift to the whole. The ordinary becomes sacred not because we make it so, but because we recognize what it already is, love expressing itself through form. In the end, love is not something we have, but something we are. When the constructions of ego dissolve, what remains is the pure capacity for love, boundless, unconditional, always present. This is our birthright, our deepest nature, the I am expressing itself as infinite tenderness for all that is. For you are that love. You are the heart of the universe, beating in every form, connecting every part, embracing every possibility in the eternal dance of recognition. Moment of practice. Opening the heart space. Place both hands on your chest. Feel the warmth of your hands, the rhythm of your heartbeat. Now recall someone you love easily, a child, a pet, a dear friend. Let that feeling of warmth and care arise naturally. Don't force it. Just remember. Now gently expand this feeling to include yourself, then someone neutral, then someone challenging. Finally, extend this warmth to all beings everywhere. Rest in this expansion of love for 1 minute. Notice, love isn't something you create, but something you allow. Chapter 7. The End of Seeking. After lifetimes of searching, something shifts. The relentless drive to improve, to find, to become finally exhausts itself. Like a child who has played every game and explored every corner of the playground, there arises a natural stillness, not the stillness of defeat, but of completion. This is not apathy or resignation. It's the dawning recognition that you've been seeking what you already are. The treasure you've been hunting for lies buried not in some distant mountain, but in the very ground you stand on. The lover you've been yearning for is the one doing the yearning. Think about your deepest moments of satisfaction. Do they come from acquiring something new, or from a sudden cessation of want? In genuine fulfillment, the mind falls silent, not because it has what it wants, but because it no longer wants. In that moment of wholeness, you are complete not because you possess everything, but because you need nothing. The spiritual journey, paradoxically, is a journey from where you already are to where you already are. Like the Zen story of looking for an ox while riding on it, we seek enlightenment while being enlightenment, chase peace while being peace, hunt for love while being love. This realization marks the end of what Buddhists call the hungry ghost, the addiction to always needing more. The hungry ghost has a huge stomach and a tiny mouth, forever trying to fill an emptiness that cannot be satisfied through external consumption. But what if the emptiness itself is the answer? What if the space within you isn't meant to be filled, but is the very awareness that makes all fullness possible? Rui wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." But what happens when this pull loses its pull? When the magnetic attraction to somewhere else releases its grip, a natural intimacy with here, with now, emerges. Modern psychology recognizes this state as being needs rather than deficit needs. Maslow called it self-actualization, where motivation shifts from scarcity to abundance. You act not to fill a hole, but from overflow. Creativity flows not from emptiness, but from fullness. Watch a master at work, a jazz musician, a chess grandmaster, a seasoned teacher. There's an effortlessness, a playfulness. They've transcended the need to prove anything. Their skill has become transparent, a clear channel for something larger to express through them. The end of seeking doesn't mean the end of action. It means action arising from a different source. Instead of the driven doing of the ego, there's responsive allowing. Life lives through you rather than you living life. This isn't passive. It's the most dynamic aliveness imaginable. Consider how solutions often come when we stop trying so hard. How answers arise in relaxation, in the shower, in the space between thoughts. How creative breakthroughs happen in the gap when effort releases. The wisdom we seek is not produced by thinking, but revealed in the clarity that emerges when thinking stops grasping. The Indian sage Ramana Maharshi taught that enlightenment is not a state to achieve, but our natural state to uncover. There is no need to attain self-realization, he said. It has always been accomplished. All that is necessary is to get rid of the thought that it has not been accomplished. This teaching can be frustrating for the mind that loves projects and progress. The seeker in us wants steps, techniques, methods. But the end of seeking cannot be found through more seeking. It's discovered in the willingness to be exactly as you are, to rest in the not knowing, to trust the organic intelligence that grows the body and beats the heart without any effort from you. When seeking ends, present moment awareness naturally arises. The constant scanning for something better gives way to appreciation of what is. The noise of comparison quiets, allowing the subtle beauty of ordinary experience to emerge. A cup of tea becomes as profound as any peak experience. Zen master Dogen wrote, "To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. This dropping off isn't a loss but a revelation. When the small self gets out of the way, the vast self, your true nature, shines through. The end of seeking is not the end of growth. It's the beginning of organic unfoldment. Like a seed that stops trying to become a tree and simply grows, you relax into becoming what you are. Development happens naturally when you stop interfering with development. This understanding transforms how you approach spiritual practice. Instead of using meditation to get somewhere, you meditate from nowhere. Instead of practicing awareness to achieve enlightenment, awareness itself becomes the practice. Every moment becomes medicine when you stop trying to cure yourself. In this ending, every beginning becomes possible. Free from the compulsion to seek, you become truly available to life. Opportunities appear not because you're attracting them, but because you're no longer filtering experience through the narrow lens of personal want. The question shifts from, "What should I seek?" to "How can I serve?" From, "What do I need?" to "What does this moment ask of me?" This reversal reveals the secret that seekers miss. You don't find life's purpose. Life's purpose finds you when you stop hiding behind the smokescreen of seeking. The end of seeking is the beginning of finding. Not finding as an acquiring, but finding as an uncovering what was always here. Every moment becomes a discovery when you're no longer seeking a different moment. Every person becomes a teacher when you're no longer looking for a guru. Every experience becomes perfect when you're no longer comparing it to an ideal. Rest here. Breathe here. Be here. The miracle you've been seeking is this very ability to seek. The aliveness you've been hunting is the hunter itself. The peace you've been chasing is the spaciousness in which all chasing arises and subsides. You are home. You have always been home. The door you've been seeking to open was never closed. Moment of practice. Exploring effortless being. For the next minute, do absolutely nothing spiritual. Don't try to be present. Don't witness your thoughts. Don't cultivate awareness. Just be completely ordinary. Now notice. Were you less conscious in that non-spiritual moment? What happened to awareness when you stopped trying to be aware? Rest here, neither seeking nor avoiding seeking. Chapter 8. Death as the Ultimate Teacher. Death is the elephant in the room of human consciousness. We build entire civilizations around avoiding the topic, yet nothing shapes our lives more profoundly than our relationship to mortality. What if death, rather than being life's opposite, is its greatest teacher? What if the contemplation of our finite existence is the gateway to recognizing what is infinite? All spiritual traditions use death as a mirror for awakening. The Tibetan Buddhists speak of bardos, transitional states, with death being the ultimate bardo revealing the true nature of mind. Egyptians prepared for death their entire lives, seeing it as the completion of earthly initiation. Shamanic traditions view death as a doorway to other realms of consciousness. But you don't need to believe in any particular cosmology to recognize death's teaching. Simply contemplating our temporary nature can shock us awake to the preciousness of life itself. When you fully accept that this body, this mind, this entire personality will one day dissolve, something extraordinary happens. You either fall into despair or discover something in you that cannot die. Consider this moment right now. Feel the aliveness in your body, the clarity of this awareness. Is this aliveness personal or impersonal? Is consciousness yours, or are you a focal point in consciousness? When you investigate directly, you discover that the awareness present in this moment has no birth and knows no death. The philosopher Epicurus said, "Death is nothing to us." Not because it isn't significant, but because when death is, you are not, and when you are, death is not. You can never actually experience your own death any more than you can experience your own dreamless sleep. What you truly are transcends both life and death. Near-death experiences provide compelling testimony. People who clinically die and return often report, "I was more alive than ever." They describe separating from the body and experiencing expanded awareness, profound peace, and recognition that their essential nature is indestructible. But why wait for near death to recognize your deathless nature? Every night in deep sleep, the personal self disappears, yet awareness continues. In meditation, the boundaries of self dissolve, yet consciousness remains. In moments of love or creative absorption, the someone who would die temporarily vanishes while life becomes more vivid. The Indian sage Ramana Maharshi suggested using death as the ultimate self-inquiry. Who dies? He would ask. Followed this question deeply. The body dies, thoughts cease, personality dissolves. But what is aware of all this? What remains when everything else falls away? That awareness, pristine and unchanging, is what you truly are. This recognition transforms how you live. When you know experientially that your essence cannot die, fear loosens its grip. Not because you no longer care about the body or ignore practical concerns, but because survival is no longer the unconscious driving force behind every action. Consider how much energy we spend trying to preserve the illusion of permanence. We accumulate possessions, build legacies, grasp at relationships, all in unconscious denial of impermanence. When you face mortality directly, this compulsive holding relaxes. You can engage fully with life while holding everything lightly. The Buddhist practice of Maranasati, mindfulness of death, involves contemplating our impermanence regularly. Not morbidly, but realistically. This body will age, sicken, and die. Everyone I love will die. All my possessions will be distributed or destroyed. Embracing these truths, rather than being depressing, illuminates what cannot be destroyed. Think about moments you've brushed close to death. An accident narrowly avoided, a serious illness, news of a loved one's passing. In these moments, doesn't life become more precious? Colors more vivid? Relationships more dear? Death, like a dark background, makes the foreground of life shine more brightly. What would change if you lived with death as your advisor? If each morning you remembered today could be your last? This isn't macabre, but intensely practical. When you know your time is limited, you become more discerning about how you use it. Petty dramas lose their grip. Forgiveness becomes easier. Love becomes urgent. The Sufi poet Omar Khayyam wrote, "The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on. Nor all thy piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all thy tears wash out a word of it." This isn't cause for despair, but recognition that each moment is unique, unrepeatable, precious. Death reveals the illusion of control. You cannot control your birth, and you cannot control your death. Between these bookends, how much do you really control? Yet within this lack of control lies profound freedom. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you discover what is always under your influence, your response to what is. The Tibetans describe death as the moment of supreme yoga, the ultimate opportunity for liberation. As all conceptual constructs dissolve, there's a possibility of recognizing the clear light of pure awareness. Whether or not you believe in afterlife, the psychological truth remains: confronting death awakens you to life. Some traditions speak of dying before death, using spiritual practice to consciously experience what happens when personal identity dissolves. In mystical states, saints report experiencing their own death while alive, emerging transformed with the knowledge that their true nature is eternal. But perhaps the ultimate teaching of death is unconditional acceptance. Everything arises and passes. Resisting this fundamental law creates suffering. Embracing it opens you to the dance of impermanence, where every moment becomes a teacher and every loss reveals something indestructible. As you contemplate your own death, you might discover something surprising. The one contemplating death cannot itself die. Thoughts about death arise in awareness. Fears about non-existence appear in the space that exists before and after all fear. The mortal self imagines its end, but the immortal self simply witnesses all coming and going. This is death's ultimate gift, pointing you back to that which has never been born and thus can never die. Not an escape from death, but a recognition that death and life are two sides of the same mystery. In accepting the inevitability of one, you discover the eternal nature of the other. Live as if you might die tomorrow, but with the understanding that what you truly are was never born. Moment of practice. Meeting death as an ally. Close your eyes and imagine this is your last day alive. Feel what arises: fear, sadness, regret, peace. Don't judge these feelings, simply allow them. Now ask yourself, what truly matters? What would I do differently? Open your eyes and look around as if seeing everything for the first time and last time. Notice how this perspective shifts your perception of ordinary things. Take one action right now that honors this recognition, perhaps a text to someone you love, or simply a moment of gratitude. Chapter 9. The Natural State. After all the seeking, all the practice, all the effort to become enlightened, what remains? Something stunningly simple. Something that was here before you began searching and will be here after all concepts of spiritual attainment have been forgotten. The mystics call it by many names, but perhaps the most accurate description is simply the natural state. This is not another spiritual concept to grasp or technique to master. The natural state is what's present when you stop trying to be in any particular state at all. It's the effortless awareness that's here before you make any effort. The unconditional consciousness that doesn't need to be conditioned by your spiritual practices. Think of a young child at play, completely absorbed in the moment. There's no sense of a separate self observing the play, just pure, immediate engagement with life. No past, no future, no spiritual goal. Just this boundless now, expressing itself through this particular form. This is the natural state, undisturbed by the conceptual overlay that adults mistake for reality. As the Zen saying goes, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The difference isn't in the actions, but in who's acting. In the natural state, life lives itself through you. There's no longer a separate someone doing life, just life doing itself, expressing itself as this unique perspective. The Chinese concept of Ziren captures this perfectly: naturalness, spontaneity, being what you are without artifice or effort. Like water flowing around obstacles, taking the shape of whatever contains it while never losing its essential fluidity. In the natural state, you move with the same effortless responsiveness. But what happened to all those years of meditation, self-inquiry, and spiritual practice? They were like scaffolding around a building under construction. Essential for support during the building process, but removed once the structure is complete. The practices help dissolve the barriers between you and your natural state, but they are not the state itself. Ramana Maharshi often pointed to this natural state. When seekers asked him for practices, he would say, "Just be as you are." Not as you think you should be, not as spiritual teachings describe, but exactly as you are right now. This as you are includes everything: thoughts, emotions, sensations, the whole catastrophe of being human. Nothing needs to be excluded. The natural state isn't a perfect state. It includes all human imperfections, all emotional reactions, all personal quirks. But these arise and pass within a larger spaciousness that remains undisturbed. Like weather patterns moving through the sky, your personal weather doesn't disturb the presence that you are. Consider how differently things feel when you're fighting them versus when you're flowing with them. The natural state is this flow applied to all of life. Effort continues when needed, but it's effortless effort. Work happens, but without the sense of struggle. Problems are addressed without the internal resistance that makes problems painful. In the natural state, preferences still exist, but desires lose their compulsive quality. You might prefer tea to coffee, but if coffee appears, there's no internal argument with reality. This isn't suppression or spiritual bypass. It's a natural outcome of recognizing that your peace doesn't depend on getting your preferences met. The Japanese concept of mushin, no mind, points to this state. Not the absence of mind, but mind without self-consciousness. without the constant internal narrator commenting on experience. In motion, actions arise spontaneously, perfectly appropriate to the moment, without the delay of mental evaluation. Watch a skilled musician or athlete in action. At their best, they're not thinking about what they're doing. Training has created the foundation, but in the moment of performance, something flows through them. This is the natural state expressing itself as music, as movement, as art. In the natural state, meditation happens naturally. Not as something you do for 30 minutes a day, but as the background of all activity. The mind continues thinking, but you're no longer identified exclusively with thought. Emotions arise, but you're not defined by them. The body acts, but you're more vast than physical form. This vastness isn't something exotic. It's as ordinary as the space in which all experience arises. Right now, notice the space between these words, the silence between sounds, the gaps between thoughts. This space is always present, always available. In the natural state, you recognize yourself as this space rather than just the contents moving through it. The Christian mystics called this ordinary mysticism, finding the divine in the utterly mundane. Not through special techniques or esoteric practices, but through simple presence to what is. The natural state makes mystics of us all, not by elevating us above normal life, but by revealing the mystical nature of normality itself. Indigenous cultures often maintained this natural state without the complex spiritual technologies developed in other traditions. They lived in direct relationship with nature, with death, with the sacred that permeates all existence. Their shamans and medicine people were experts in navigating expanded states, but always returned to the simple awareness that we are nature expressing itself. In the natural state, the sacred and secular merge. Washing dishes becomes as holy as any ritual. Working becomes worship. Relationships become opportunities for consciousness to know itself in different guises. There's no longer any separation between spiritual life and ordinary life. Living from the natural state, you become what Buddhists call a nobody special. No longer trying to be somebody significant, but available to serve whatever life asks of you. This ordinariness contains extraordinary freedom. Free from the burden of maintaining a spiritual image, you can respond authentically to each moment. The natural state is always available, always here. It's found not by adding something new, but by subtracting the unnecessary, the constant trying, grasping, avoiding that keeps us in a state of tension. Like learning to float in water, it's about relaxing into a support that's already there. In the end, the natural state isn't a state at all. States come and go. The natural state is what remains constant through all states. The aware presence that's here whether you're happy or sad, active or resting, thinking or not thinking. It's your original face, before you learn to make faces. Rest here. Stop trying to be anything special. Let life live itself as you. This is the natural state, not the end of your spiritual journey, but the recognition that you were already there before any journey began. Moment of practice. Discovering effortless being. For the next 2 minutes, stop trying to be spiritual, stop trying to be present, stop trying to be anything. Just be completely ordinary. If thoughts arise, fine. If you fidget, fine. If you feel nothing special, perfect. Now notice, even in complete ordinariness, awareness is present. You don't maintain awareness, it maintains you. This effortless quality is your natural state. Rest here. This is it. Nothing more needed. Chapter 10. The Dance of Manifestation. Once you recognize yourself as consciousness itself, a fascinating phenomenon emerges. Thoughts seem to materialize more readily into form. Intentions clarify into action with less effort. The boundary between inner vision and outer manifestation becomes permeable. This isn't magical thinking or wishful mysticism. It's the natural outcome of decreased mental resistance and increased alignment with creative intelligence. When you stop fighting reality, you discover how to dance with it. Consider how manifestation actually works. Every human creation began as a thought. This audiobook, the chair you might be sitting on, the technology delivering these words to you. Consciousness shapes matter through imagination, intention, and focused attention. The question isn't whether you can manifest, but how conscious you are of the manifestation that's already happening. In the I Am consciousness, you recognize yourself as the field in which all manifestation occurs. You're not separate from the creative process. You are the creative process, temporarily individualized. This shift in identity from creator separate from creation to creation creating itself revolutionizes how manifestation unfolds. The ancient Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, points to this truth. The outer world reflects the inner landscape of consciousness. When internal conflicts resolve, external circumstances harmonize. When limiting beliefs dissolve, new possibilities emerge, not through forcing change, but through allowing it. Quantum physics reveals that reality exists in potential until observed, at which point it collapses into specificity. Your consciousness acts as this observer, continually selecting from infinite possibilities. In the I Am state, this selection becomes less random, less driven by unconscious patterns, and more aligned with genuine desire and natural flow. But true manifestation transcends personal will. It's not about imposing your desires on reality, but discovering what wants to emerge through you. Like a gardener who doesn't force plants to grow, but creates conditions for growth, you learn to cultivate awareness, clarity, and receptivity. Watch a master chef, artist, or entrepreneur at work. They don't struggle to create. They become transparent channels for creativity itself. Their personalities get out of the way, allowing something larger to express through them. This is enlightened manifestation, co-creation with the intelligence that moves galaxies. In this dance, resistance dissolves. You stop pushing against unwanted circumstances and instead focus on desired outcomes with relaxed intention. The paradox is that wanting less, you often receive more. Grasping less, you hold more. Controlling less, you influence more. The law of attraction, properly understood, is really the law of being. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Change the being, and the having naturally follows. This is why spiritual development and manifestation mastery are ultimately the same journey. But here's the crucial understanding. True manifestation serves the whole, not just personal desires. When you align with your deeper purpose, your unique gift to existence, resources flow naturally. The universe supports what supports universal evolution. Consider nature's extravagant abundance. Trees don't struggle to produce fruit. Flowers don't strain to bloom. Abundance is the natural state when there's harmony between individual expression and cosmic intelligence. Scarcity arises from the illusion of separation. Abundance flows from recognized unity. The Bhagavad Gita teaches karma yoga, selfless action. When manifestation becomes service rather than just personal fulfillment, it aligns with greater currents of creativity. You become an instrument for what wants to be born rather than just pursuing what you think you want. This doesn't mean suppressing personal desires but purifying them. Desires arising from lack, fear, or ego create karmic resistance. Desires emerging from love, vision, or contribution flow with minimal friction. The same manifestation principles apply, but the sourced energy differs dramatically. Practice grateful manifestation. Appreciate what's already present while welcoming what's emerging. This dual awareness, satisfaction with what is and openness to what's becoming, creates optimal conditions for conscious creation. The I Am consciousness recognizes that separation between manifestation and manifester is conceptual only. You don't create your life. You are your life creating itself. This shift dissolves the effort and anxiety often associated with manifesting specific outcomes. In this understanding, every moment becomes an opportunity for conscious creation. Every thought, every word, every action participates in the ongoing dance of manifestation. When you know yourself as universal consciousness expressing uniquely, manifestation becomes natural, effortless, and aligned. Dreams don't just happen to you, they happen as you. The dreamer and the dream are one. Similarly, your waking life unfolds not around you, but as you. Recognizing this, manifestation transforms from desperate outer grasping to joyful inner flowering. The ultimate secret of manifestation is this: you are already what you seek. Physical manifestation simply makes visible what's eternally present in consciousness. The abundant universe, infinite love, creative power, perfect peace. These aren't somewhere else. They are what you are, waiting to be recognized and expressed. In the I am consciousness, manifestation becomes play. Like a child building sandcastles, you create freely knowing that all forms eventually return to formlessness. Serious involvement gives way to lighthearted engagement. Desperate neediness relaxes into generous creativity. You discover that the highest manifestation isn't getting what you want, but becoming what you are. And what you are is the creative source of all manifestation. Infinite potential expressing itself as unique form, dancing the eternal dance of consciousness, exploring itself through countless shapes and experiences. Welcome to the dance. You are the dancer, the dance, and the space in which dancing occurs. Let the music play. Moment of practice. Experiencing co-creative flow. Think of something you've been trying to manifest. Now release all effort to make it happen. Instead, ask, what needs to be seen or healed within me before this can flower naturally? Sit with this question for 1 minute. Don't seek answers. Let answers arise. Notice any tensions, fears, or attachments that surface. Now visualize your desired outcome as if it's already manifesting perfectly in its own timing. Feel gratitude for both what is and what's becoming. Rest in the space of allowing. Chapter 11. Living Integration. Integration means holding both slash and rather than either slash or. You are both infinite consciousness and finite form. Both absolute peace and relative emotions. Both connected to everything and functionally separate. This paradox resolves in lived experience. The teacher Adyashanti speaks of embodied realization. Insights so thoroughly integrated they transform how you walk, speak, and breathe. This isn't about performing spirituality, but being increasingly authentic. The mask dissolves gradually as you risk showing up as you truly are. Notice how integration happens through ordinary moments. Asterisk pausing before reacting to feel the space between stimulus and response. Asterisk choosing words that bridge rather than divide. Asterisk meeting others' unconsciousness with consciousness rather than matching their energy. Asterisk finding gratitude even in frustrations, seeing them as teachers. Integration asks, how can daily life become continuous prayer? Not formal prayer but living worship. Recognizing each moment as sacred, each person as consciousness, each challenge as initiation. Some days integration feels effortless. You flow through activities with presence, respond from wisdom, feel connected to all life. Other days, the spiritual insights seem distant, and you're caught in old patterns. This rhythmic dance between clarity and confusion is itself the path. Remember, integration isn't about maintaining peak states, but developing equanimity through all states. Like weather, internal states change constantly. Like sky, your essential nature remains unchanged. Integration means being the sky, not fighting the weather. Practice patience with the process. Genuine integration takes time. Seeds planted in consciousness need seasons to root, sprout, and flower in daily life. Trust the organic intelligence already transforming you from within. The most profound integration happens not through doing, but through being. As presence becomes your default state, actions naturally align with wisdom. You don't think about being kind, kindness flows. You don't remember to be present, presence is. Integration completes the circle, from seeking your true nature, to recognizing it, to embodying it, to forgetting you ever were separate. The sacred ordinary life emerges, awakening expressed through unique form. Moment of practice. Bridging absolute and relative. Choose one ordinary activity you'll do soon. Making tea, checking email, or walking to another room. Before beginning, pause and rest as awareness itself for 30 seconds. Now perform the activity while maintaining peripheral awareness of the spaciousness you are. Notice how absolute presence can coexist with relative function. Let this be your practice, being sky while clouds move through. Chapter 12. The Endless Beginning. After all the words, all the practices, all the insights, here you are, right back where you started. The difference? Now you recognize the extraordinary in the ordinary, the sacred in the mundane, the infinite in the finite. This recognition doesn't end the journey, but reveals it as endless beginning. Every moment is birth. Every breath a new creation. Every thought a fresh emergence from the vast unknown. You are not becoming enlightened. You are enlightenment continuously becoming aware of itself through unique forms of expression. The ancient Sanskrit greeting, Namaste, the divine in me recognizes the divine in you, becomes not a polite custom, but lived reality. When you truly see others as consciousness wearing different costumes, interaction transforms. Conflict becomes comedy, drama becomes dance, struggle becomes creative play. This is not the end of preferences, opinions, or personality. Rather, these hewn elements arise within a larger spaciousness that holds them lightly. Like waves on the ocean, your individual characteristics express the universal pattern while remaining inseparable from the whole. Consider this. You are simultaneously the newest and oldest thing in existence. Every moment you are fresh, unprecedented, never before seen. Yet your essential nature has no beginning, existing before time itself. This paradox of eternal newness is the secret of staying awake. The spiritual journey, ultimately, is a return to childhood. Not the helplessness of infancy, but the wonder of innocent perception. When you look at the world without the veil of concepts, everything appears miraculously interesting. The play of light on water becomes as fascinating as any philosophical discourse. But this cosmic child is also fully adult, capable of profound responsibility, skilled in navigating complex challenges, wise in the ways of human nature. Integration means being both naive and sophisticated, innocent and experienced, transcendent and immanent. From this understanding, every ending becomes a beginning. Loss reveals space for new growth. Death shows itself as transformation rather than termination. Change, far from threatening your security, becomes evidence of life's creative vitality. You discover that seeking was just a phase in the eternal cycle of consciousness knowing itself. Now, established in being, seeking transforms into exploration. Not desperate searching for what's missing, but curious investigation of what's possible. The question shifts from, who am I, to how shall I play? This play includes service. When the illusion of separation dissolves, helping others becomes as natural as scratching your own itch. Not because you should help, but because the boundaries between self and other have become transparently flexible. Your hands become the world's hands. Yet, paradoxically, as you become more universal, you also become more unique. Your specific gifts, talents, and perspectives are not erased but clarified. Like instruments in an orchestra, individual voices strengthen as they harmonize with the whole. You bring something to existence that only you can contribute. The endless beginning means never arriving at a final state of perfection. Growth continues, depths reveal themselves, nuances of consciousness unfold eternally. Enlightenment is not a static achievement, but a dynamic, ever-expanding recognition of what you've always been. This perspective transforms how you view challenges. Problems become koans, puzzles offered by life to deepen realization. Every difficulty contains hidden teaching. Every person you meet reflects aspects of your own consciousness seeking integration. Every circumstance provides opportunity for awakening. Even concepts of spiritual progress dissolve. You are not somewhere becoming something else. You are here, complete as you are, endlessly flowering into fuller expression. Development happens not through accumulation, but through increasing transparency to what is eternally present. The great secret reveals itself. You are the pearl of creation appearing as wave, unique yet inseparable from the ocean. You are the cosmic joke temporarily pretending to be merely human. You are intelligence playing hide and seek with itself, finding endless entertainment in the search and discovery. As understanding matures, even the need to understand relaxes. Mystery becomes comfortable. Not knowing becomes peaceful. You rest in the paradox of being both questioner and answer, wave and ocean, drop and cosmos. Life continues its sacred ordinariness. You wake, work, eat, rest, but now these simple acts participate consciously in the universal dance. Brushing your teeth becomes an act of love. Walking to the store is pilgrimage. Every conversation is prayer. Every action is offering. The I am recognition reveals itself as beginning, not end. Each moment births fresh possibility. Each breath brings new chances to choose consciousness over habit, presence over distraction, love over fear. The spiritual path becomes pathless, just walking, just breathing, just being here now. This is the endless beginning. Recognizing yourself as the eternal source continuously beginning, the first movement of creation happening now, the original face before your parents were born expressing through these eyes, these hands, this heart. The door to paradise was never locked. You simply needed to stop pushing and realize it opens inward. Now, stepping through, you discover paradise was always here, this earth, this life, this moment exactly as it is. Welcome home. The journey continues. The adventure deepens. The beginning begins again. Moment of practice. Celebrating the eternal now. Place your attention on your breath. Feel the miracle of breathing without effort. Now expand awareness to include your entire body, then the space around you, then beyond, until awareness includes everything present in this moment. Rest here for 1 minute, letting yourself be breathed by life itself. In this spaciousness, silently affirm, I am the eternal beginning, fresh in every moment. Notice how this affirmation feels. True? Absurd? Both. End with gratitude for this mysterious existence that allows you to wonder at all. Closing. The sacred invitation. Here we are at the end that is also a beginning. You've traveled through concepts and practices, insights and invitations, yet the fundamental truth remains beautifully simple. You are what you've been seeking. The I am that you are is the eternal secret hidden in plain sight. This understanding changes everything and nothing. Your daily life continues. Bills need paying, relationships require attention, challenges arise and must be met. But now these ordinary activities happen within a vastness that makes them sacred. Every moment becomes an opportunity to express your true nature. The spiritual path doesn't lead somewhere else. It deepens where you are. Enlightenment isn't an escape from human experience, but a fuller embrace of it. When you recognize yourself as consciousness itself, you can finally relax into being fully human. Remember, this recognition comes not through effort, but through allowing. You cannot force yourself to realize what you already are. Like the sun hidden behind clouds, your true nature eternally shines. All that's needed is the willingness to let the clouds pass. Integration of these insights happens naturally as you live them. Each time you pause to rest in awareness, each moment you respond rather than react, each instance of genuine presence strengthens the recognition. Living becomes your spiritual practice. The invitation remains open in every moment, to wake up from the dream of separation, to remember your essential nature, to live as the infinite expressing through the finite. This invitation doesn't depend on special circumstances or spiritual achievements. It's available now, in this ordinary moment, to anyone willing to receive it. Whatever brought you to this exploration, whether curiosity, suffering, or inexplicable longing, the same source is guiding you home. Trust the process. Your questions and doubts, your insights and confusions are all waves in the ocean of consciousness that you are. As you close this audiobook, consider that the real teaching begins now. These words were only pointing to what's always present. The true teacher is life itself, offering lessons through every experience. The real practice is showing up fully for whatever arises. Take with you not new beliefs, but renewed perception. See the world as if for the first time. Meet each person as a unique expression of the one consciousness. Approach each challenge as an invitation to demonstrate your understanding. You are the eternal I Am, awakening to itself through human experience. This is your birthright, your deepest truth, your sacred destiny. Not something to achieve, but something to acknowledge, not something to become, but something to recognize, not something to attain, but something to embody. The secret has been revealed. Now live it. As these words fade into silence, let the recognition remain. You are that. You have always been that. You will always be that. I am that I am. This is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end, the eternal return to what never left. May all beings recognize their true nature. May all suffering end in this recognition. May peace pervade all realms of existence. And so it is.